And Jesus warned in Matthew 7:21. He says, on Judgment Day, he's going to tell a group of people, get away from me, I never knew you. And those people are going to say, but Jesus, didn't we not prophesy in your name? Listen, you should see my Cash App. I got receipts, right? Did I not prophesy in your name? Did we not heal in your name? Did we not do these works in your name? And Jesus is going to say, listen, you know my name, but you never trusted in my name. You used my name. You didn't trust in it. You used it. Notice even their own admission. What I did for you, what I did for you. Listen, no true believer will ever come to Jesus and be able to say, well, why are you going to go to heaven? Why should you be let in? Well, let me tell you what I did. He was like, no, Christ did. What he did, and my faith is in him and what he has done. And so Jesus is going to tell those people that, and I believe that these false teachers are those kind of category people. I was like, Jesus, I went to church all the time, and I was the number one follower, and I read all these books. And again, there's a thing and a warning, guys, where you can constantly learn and never arrive to saving knowledge. That's a scary proposition there. Oh, and then the false teachers, these same people, those like, oh, well, we prophesied and we did all these things in your name. No, you used my name. You never knew me. God is going to tell one group of people that. And that's going to shipwreck their faith. And then he's going to tell another, a different group, something else. And he will say, well done, good and faithful servants. Enter into the rest. Enter into eternal joy of your master. Can I just take a real quick poll? Which one do you want to hear, A or B? All right, come on. Which one do you want to hear, A or B? You want to get away from me, I never knew you, or a welcome home? Which one do you want? An eviction notice? A little restraining order? I mean, that's kind of, or a what? A welcome home. Which one, guys? And so here's the thing. How do you know? How can you be certain which phrase you're going to hear? It all depends on how you respond. In fact, I got a picture here. Is there a picture of a boat? All right, look at this. In my study this year, I came across a story of two boats, actually. Two cargo ships that got caught in Hurricane Joaquin in 2015 in the Bahamas. The one you see here is a little fictitious artistic display of El Faro. That's the one there. All right, so you can bring it back so the camera can see me. I want you to imagine this cargo ship, right? So both ships got caught in the hurricane. The one ship was sinking, but they were able to be rescued because and that ship was not as strong. It was not as big. It was older. But the captain, they were, communicating accurately. They had proper information. They were able to make wise decisions. El Faro, the one you just saw there, El Faro was a boat that was a high-tech cargo ship. And there was no way and no reason that ship would have shipwrecked, but it did. And the problem was that even with all this technology and everything there, the captain was making decisions based on faulty information. What they were doing and how it was like, oh, well, the latest report says the hurricane is heading in this direction and this speed and these knots and this is where it is. Well, even with all the best technology in the world, they were getting the wrong information. So he was making course corrections in his boat according to false information. And he actually steered the ship into the eye of the hurricane. And by the time they realized what was going on, it was too late. Everyone on board of El Faro died. Guys, that is going to be the fate of those who will hear that phrase, get away from me, I never knew you. Because they're putting their faith in faulty information, thinking that they're sailing to safety, and they're going to go right into the storm. And there's no end to that storm. The problem that those two churches had is why Paul had to write a letter. And here's the thing, guys. Those two churches have had problems that, guess what? We do too. Not just unique to us, but the church still to this day. And the problem was this. The two churches that were there, why Paul had to send two of his best guys, Timothy and Titus, was because both of those churches had false teachers in them who were making a living telling lies. That's what they were doing. They were making a living telling lies. There were people who worked up in the ranks of the church leadership, and they became now influential pastors and preachers and communicators. And the things that they were spitting out, Paul calls it demonic doctrine. Now, some of that we've talked about this year, which when we looked at all of the many letters of Paul, we talked about some of those, where it sounds super spiritual. It sounds spiritual. It sounds Holy Spirit inspired. It sounds like, yeah, that sounds about right. Jesus would have said that. Kind of makes sense. But they either, if they weren't denying Christ, they were dethroning him. So they were saying, yes, come to Jesus and you're going to find this experience. So you go to Jesus to get something else. You go to Jesus to get an experience. You go to Jesus to level up. You go to Jesus to tap into the secrets and mysteries of heaven and all of these things. You tap into Jesus to be able to so you're using him to get something else. And so that was a big thing here. And these guys, Paul called them out. They are all greedy and they're doing it for money. They're telling lies and they're making a living. But the unfortunate thing is that the people were eating it up. And so sometimes like, oh, we got a problem because we got too many pastors not telling the truth. No, we got a problem because we got too many people propping up these pastors because they like what they hear. Because what they were saying, though it was lies, they were packaged in a way that people, they were hearing and telling people what they wanted to hear, not what God needed them to hear. So the problem is twofold. The problem is twofold. I mean, it was a big one. In fact, I got a couple verses I want to show you. Look at 1 Timothy 1:19. In 1 Timothy 1:19, I'm going to put it on the screen and we're going to go fast here. Look at the problems that people were experiencing because they were listening to these false teachers. In 1 Timothy 1:19, it says, having full assurance. No, the other one. Let me pop it up before I lose it. In 1:19, here it is. Having faith, and a good conscience, which he's telling Timothy to have. You need to have faith with a good conscience, which some have rejected, listening to the unfaithful. And what happened to them? What's the phrase he uses? Shipwreck their faith. Guys, you can imagine, what is a shipwreck? You can imagine what that is, right? They've run ashore. They've hit ground. They have not done. Listen, that happened almost to my grandfather one time. He loves to drive boats. I miss him. And one day he tells the story of how he was on a boat and he was driving and he was having a great time. And he loves to drive cars. He loves to drive cars, but he loved to go on the boat too. But he was not as comfortable. He was comfortable behind the wheel of a car, not a boat. And so when he's heading back to shore, he's kind of throttling it, right? And then he's doing something or whatever. And then he was like, all right, slow down. Copy, slow down. Slow down. And he's like, I'm trying. I can't find the brake. Like, he's pumping. I mean, if you don't know anything about boats, it doesn't have brakes. And so he's looking for the floor. And he's like, I don't see a brake. He's like, throw the throttle. And so that's when he found out, he did that. So he almost would have shipwrecked because he wasn't stopping. But here, these people, because they're listening to this unfaithful word, they are shipwrecking their faith, meaning they are putting their faith in something and it is now collapsed. They are having an existential crisis. They are shipwrecking their faith. Oh my God, I thought I believed in Jesus and the word said this, right? And that pastor said this and I gave him my money and I did this and I did that and he promised me my healing and he promised me a blessing and he promised me this word that never came true. Maybe none of this is true. You see what I mean? Shipwrecking their faith. Anybody ever been there before? All right, listen. And the other time is shipwrecking the faith. So now they are misrepresenting Christ. And so, I mean, it's a big deal. Look at the other one is in Titus. Put Titus 1:11 up. He says, it is necessary. He sends Timothy and Titus with one job. Go shut these guys up. You got to confront these guys. Go confront them because they're harming people. Look at with Titus. He says this. It is necessary to silence these false teachers, for they are ruining entire households by teaching them what they shouldn't in order to, what? Get money dishonestly. Guys, my hobby lately, which my wife has rightfully, very wisely told me I need to chill out, is to hop into TikTok prophets and TikTok apostles who are giving out words like if they were, Chick-fil-A nuggets. I mean, just out there, just pumping them out. And then they're like, oh, make sure to cash at me at, blessed man of God, 419, #3. What constantly pushing the cash app. You got to bless the brother. You got to bless him. I'm blessing you. You got to bless me back. That's how it works. I mean, it is bad. I mean, that is the type of stuff that they would see, and they're upsetting them because people are believing in something, and then it's not true anymore. It's not true, and they're being disheartened, ruining entire households. Go to 2 Timothy 3:6 and 7. Look at this one. Now, in his second letter to Timothy, the problem has not gotten any better. And in 2 Timothy, he says, for among them, those false teachers, those who worm their way into households and deceive gullible women, overwhelmed by sin and led astray by a variety of what? Passions. Let's go to look at the next one. Always learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. Guys, this is what false teachers do, man. This is why it's so disappointing. You feel like, oh, I'm learning so much. But Paul is saying, yeah, they're learning a lot, but they're never getting anywhere. They're constantly learning, but never coming to the knowledge of Christ, the knowledge of the truth. They're never going to get saved. They think they're going to get saved because they're spiritual, because they know, and they're going to be so disappointed. I mean, not only, do I have one more, right? Did I have 2 Timothy, do I have 2 Timothy 4, 3, and 4, or no? All right, if not, no, it's cool. So in here, he's telling them, oh, I do. So let's put that up. So look, for the time will come, Paul tells Timothy. A time will come, and by the way, that time was then, and it is still to this day. A time will come when people will not tolerate sound doctrine anymore. But according to their own, there's that word, passions and desires, they will multiply. So who's the problem here? Both, right? The supply and the demand. You got the false teachers with the supply, and you got the people wanting the demand. And he says they will multiply themselves, false teachers, for it because they have an itchy ear. They have an itch to hear what they want to hear. They will turn away from hearing the truth and will turn aside to myths. And in turning away from the truth, they're going to shipwreck their lives, their faith, everything.